Olaolu. All right. So today we'll be discussing HR analytics. All right. So for those of you who would want to dive into HR analytics and get some understanding of what a HR analyst would do on a day-to-day and what the whole space is all about, I'll be sharing some insights with you, and together we'll look at a dashboard, all right, and we'll try to come up with key recommendations based on what we can see. So we are all going to work together, and I would appreciate if we have maybe 2 to 3 people that would volunteer to work with me, sharing your ideas and telling us what you think you can see from the report I'll be showing you today. All right. So it's going to be more of a conversation we'll be having while we start to understand what HR analytics is all about. I'll be sharing my slides and then we'll kick off with what we have for today. So just before we start, just type into the chat. Let me know where you're joining us from. Just type in. I'll start by typing in mine. I'm joining from Manchester, UK. So just type into the chat. Let's know where you're all joining from. All right, just type that into the chat. Let's see, and let's know where you're joining us from. Southampton, fantastic, Obafemi. Enugu, Nigeria, brilliant. Canada, Adegoke, I see you. Lagos, Warri, Ogun State, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Ikeja, fantastic. Brilliant. Accra, Ghana, Richard, good to have you join us all the way from Ghana. Okay, so it's today's class would be a small class, all right? So I want us to have more one-to-one conversations with our presentation for today. So I'll start by sharing my slides and then we'll kick off with the main meat of our session for today. Esther is joining us from Abuja. You're welcome, Esther. All right, so we'll be looking at HR analytics and what it takes to get into HR analytics. A lot of people would ask, I want to transition to a role within the tech ecosystem, but I really don't know what to do. And there are so many people, too many people that have been learning forever. Okay, they've been learning 1 or 2 things and they really don't know how to make the switch. So what I'll be doing for you today is showing you what you need to learn. So if you want to become a HR analyst, you want to get a job as a HR data analyst, as a people analyst across the globe, anywhere across the globe, in the UK, in Canada, in Nigeria, across Asia, and so on and so forth, I'll show you step by step what you need to learn. All right, but let's dive into what we have for today. So first of all, a lot of you would ask, oh, I don't think I know Tenalytics and what Tenalytics is all about. So just a brief introduction, just so that you know what we do and what we stand for. For us at Tenalytics, we are an educational technology company focusing on helping Africans and people of the Black community to transition into tech. And one of the ways we are doing this is by providing premium training programs across different areas within the tech ecosystem, across different areas from data analytics to data engineering to data science, business analysis, HR analytics, financial analytics, and so many other programs. Right. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is on the quality of the facilitators and the trainers we bring to bear. So we bring the best of the best in the industry to work with you, to help you make that transition eventually. All right. Now, one of the things I just quickly want to mention before we dive deeper into our session for today is today's session is not, you don't need any experience, you don't need any background, you don't need any prerequisite skills to be a part of the session today. All right. So all I need you to do is ask your questions, let's interact, and I'll show you how you can make the transition into tech within the space of 3 to 4 months. Okay, so I haven't introduced myself. I'll just do that very quickly. My name is Adeza Suleiman, and that's me on the screen, and the co-founder of Tenalytics, FMNA. About 3 years ago, I founded Tenalytics specifically to help people make the transition into tech. All right. I'm a data analytics expert for close to a decade, and I've worked across 5 different sectors, from educational technology to energy, automobile, financial services, and so on and so forth. All right. I've been doing this for close to a decade, and I've worked for some of the biggest and the best organizations across the globe. Now, while transitioning into tech, one of the major challenges I faced includes not knowing the specific direction to take. And I'm sure a lot of people would fall into this same predicament. So you go on different platforms, you try to learn, you watch videos, you try to practice, but then you get stuck. Now, when you get stuck, what do you do afterwards? All right? Do I have somebody who can help me? Do I have that person who can serve as a mentor to tell me what to do at different points in time? So that was the stumbling block. So myself and Efemina, the co-founder of Analyst, we decided to create an avenue where we can help people who would also want to make the switch. Because we've worked for organizations where you go into the company here in the UK, for example, or even in the US, and you'd find that so many of the technical roles, especially within the tech ecosystem, are filled by Indians and other nationalities. Okay, so I found it difficult to go into a company and see somebody that looks like me, a dark-skinned person, and that was a major, challenge. And we set out to address that issue by creating a platform that would help so many people make that switch and make the transition. And over the years, we've been able to consolidate our experience and also our success story. And last year alone, we're able to help over 500 people transition from the classroom into getting their first jobs in tech. All right. So these are people who had no experience. They had never done tech before. And we help them bridge the gap between what they learn and how they got the job across different regions, from the UK to the US to Africa, Europe, and so many other countries across the globe. And one of the major things, the game changer, was a set of skills that I'll be sharing with you later when we dive into our presentation. All right. Your technical skill is 50%. Okay. Technical skills, which is critical. Everybody needs to have this. This is a given. Without the technical skill, you can't get the job. All right. Apart from the technical skill, what else do you need to get a job? And that's the bridge eventually that will make the difference between yourself and somebody else who is trying to get the job. So I'll speak about this a few slides down the line. All right. So over 500 people within the space of just 12 months, last year, 2022. And our success story, started to get traction, and we started to get recognized by so many publications out there. For example, the Business Day talked about the amazing work we've been doing, Nairametrics as well, talking about the hackathon that we held last year, where over five people got 1 million to share when they looked at a case that we provided to them, solved that problem, and eventually we had 5 winners. All right. This is the Punch also talking about, they interviewed myself and the co-founder of Analyst on how Nigeria can start to take data-driven decisions to solve their problems. Okay, and I'll speak a little bit more about the hackathon. And this is PR Fire. For those in the UK, you know PR Fire, a major publication, also reiterating Analytics' commitment to helping Africans land tech jobs. Now, last year, around December, we held a hackathon, a data hackathon that involved Africans, over 2,000 participants across the globe, Africans from different regions and different locations. They were given a case study tied to the Sustainable Development Goals, right? They looked at the problem, which was health related in the health sector, and they analyzed the data, provided insights, and shared their insights with a panel of judges. We had a winner who went away with 400,000 Naira, Miriam, and we had 4 other finalists. One was from Ghana. So the gentleman from Ghana, Richard Kwame, came second, also from Ghana, and he went away with 275,000 Naira. It was an amazing, amazing session that held in December 2022. And these are some of the things we've been doing to ensure that we get as many Africans and people of the Black community into tech. Early this year as well, we also saw from last year that a major report from the World Economic Forum that stated that just 25% of tech roles are held by women. So just 25% of tech roles are held by women. So how can we bring that number up? How can we get more women into tech? So we launched an initiative called the Women in Tech Scholarship, which we used in commemoration of the International Women's Month in March, and over 300 women got scholarship to join any of our programs. And this was something we did to ensure that we bring this number up from 25% to a lot higher within the next few years, all right? And for the hackathon, these are some of the judges that took part, that played a role during the hackathon. We had Michelle from the Lloyds Banking Group here in the UK. We had Sadiq. Sadiq works with Google. He was one of the panel members that looked at the presenters' recommendations and insights and gave valuable feedback. So at the end of today's session, we'll share the slides with you. So please take out time to watch the videos, all right? So they're all on YouTube, available to every one of you. So go on YouTube, see the amazing work we've been doing. We also had Sebastian. Sebastian is an AI researcher with the University of Cambridge. And we had Olamide, who leads the data and analytics team at Wema Bank in Nigeria. So our participants cut across several organizations, the best of the best organizations across the globe, from Google to Microsoft to Revolut to the NHS in the UK to the Post Office, the Central Bank of Nigeria to PwC, KPMG, so many other companies across the globe. And these are the people that serve as ambassadors, Tenalytics ambassadors out there. They've joined the program. They've done amazingly well for themselves. They've gotten jobs with some of the biggest and the best organizations across the globe. Now, our session for today would involve us looking at a courier company. Okay, so a company involved in courier services, they have problems with absenteeism. Okay, so absenteeism is a major challenge for organizations. It affects revenue, it affects performance. It also cascades into leading to team performance dropping. So when you have members of the team that have a critical role to play in the success of deliverables, being absent from work, it leads to those deliverables delayed, and which eventually can, easily cascade into loss of revenue and so on and so forth. So we'll be looking at something very simple. As a HR analyst, how do you take data, convert it into insights, and come up with recommendations, which is simply the role of a HR analyst. All right, we'll be looking at that today. And then I would also share with you the steps you need to take. So for those of you who have been learning, you've been watching videos, you've been doing X and Y, you really don't know how to transition, you don't know what to learn to get into tech, especially focusing on HR analytics. So I'll share with you all the single steps you need to take, the tech stack you need to learn. Do I need to learn Excel? Do I need to learn this? Do I need to learn that? I'll talk about that. And then we'll move into our upcoming HR analytics program coming up next week, Saturday, the 5th of August. And I would also talk about the program very quickly, and then I'll share some success stories with you. Obviously, we've worked with so many people across the span of about 3 years, and so many of them have also gotten success along the line, coming into the program, doing very well, and getting amazing jobs within the tech ecosystem. And I'll share some of their stories with you, and I'm sure you'll be able to resonate with some of them along the line. And feel free to ask questions as we move on. So let's get started. Okay, let's get started. And like I said, I want this session to be as, I want us to collaborate. I want it to be as interactive as possible. So feel free to share your ideas. I'd love to hear from you. I'd want 2 or 3 people to come up, volunteer, share their experience, and tell us what they think. Tell us what they think about what they can see. All right. So what we'll be seeing today, like I mentioned, is on absenteeism. And there are key questions that we need to answer. Okay. I'll show you what the data looks like. All right. I'll show you what the data looks like. And then these are the questions that have been answered. Okay. Now, because of time, because we have just 2 hours for this session, so we're not going to take all the time to start building stuff on the call practically. All right. So I'm going to share insights with you that have been developed already. And I want us to look at it and come up with recommendations to help this company reduce absenteeism. Okay. So the first question we need to look at, how many employees are in the organization? Okay. What is the total absent days? So if you consolidate all the hours that people have been absent, what's the total days you'd find people absent, all right? What's the total absent hours? So how many hours have employees been absent across the span of 4 years? Because the data is for 4 years of the company, gathering data with regards to absenteeism, okay? We'd also try to look for the average age of employees. We'd also want to know the month where we have the highest number of absence from our employees. So which month? Is it January? Is it December? When exactly? The day of the week that has the highest employee absence. We also want to know the major reason for the absence, because I'll show you the data and you'd also see that as people indicate that they'll be absent from work, they also give the reason why they'll be absent. Okay. Some would have to say they're going to the dentist. And I'm sure a lot of you who are professionals and work for different companies, you've at one point in time, just on a Monday morning, you really don't want to go to work. You just call or send a message to your boss to say you are going to the dentist, or you have a runny stomach and you can't make it to work on that particular day. So employees would give reasons. We want to look at those reasons and see if there are things we can do, if there are strategies we can put in place to ensure that we nip it in the bud, or at least we reduce absenteeism to a reasonable level. And finally, we want to see the age group, or maybe not necessarily the age group, but we want to see if you have specific age categories within the company that have, more, that tends to have more employee absences compared to other age category. Okay, so you have the link to download the data over here, and then the video on creating and answering all these questions. You also have the link in here, which you'll be getting at the end of today's session. All right. So very quickly, I'm going to show you what the data looks like. Okay, I'll show you what the data looks like, and then I'll bring up the reports. We'll look at the report, and I want 2 people, maybe 3 people to come up who'll be confident enough to maybe turn on their videos and speak and tell us what they can see and the recommendations they would want to proffer to help this company address the issue of absenteeism. Okay, well, let's look at the data first of all. So I'm just going to open this, and please the data itself is a bit tiny because you have about 23 columns. So I'm just going to try to run through it very quickly. I don't think you need to spend time looking at the nitty-gritty, but just for you to have an idea of what was used to generate the report. Okay, so this is the data opened up in Excel. The first column you have, I'm going to maximize it a bit so you can see my screen a bit better. Okay, so the first column, you have the employee ID. So every employee has their unique ID, their staff ID, the employee staff number, or whatever you want to call it. All right, then you have the month of absence. The month of absence is simply 1 to 12. 1 for January, 12 for December. So if somebody is absent on a month 7, it means that person was absent in July. All right, so you have July. for 7, 1 for January, 12 for December. You have day of the week. Day of the week as well, based on the data that we have, starts from 2, number 2. Okay, so 1 is Sunday, 2 is Monday, 3 is Tuesday, 4 is Wednesday, 5 is Thursday, 6 is Friday. So you have Monday to Friday from 2 to 6. All right. So when you see day of the week, number 2, you know employees were absent on a Monday. If you see number 5, you know they were absent on a Thursday, and so on and so forth. So you have the seasons as well. Okay, so was it during the winter? Was it during summer? And so on and so forth. You have transportation expense. You have distance from residence. You have service time, which is how long the employee has been in the business. You have the age. You have the workload average per day. You have the heat target. Heat target simply means, and I'll share that with you when you download the data set. You have the data dictionary, which is the description of all the columns. All right. The heat target simply means the level to which employees have met their target. So 97 means the employee has almost met the target of 100. So when you see 97, the target is 100%. So 97 means the employee is very close to meeting the target. Disciplinary failure. Okay, so for somebody who has has disciplinary issues, you'd see 1. If the employee doesn't have a disciplinary issue, you'd see 0. Education, son, which is number of children. Social drinker, social smoker. Pets. If the employee has a pet, how many pets and all of that. You have the weight of the employee, you have the height of the employee, and the body mass index. You then have the absenteeism time in hours. So how many hours was that particular employee absent? For 4 hours, 0 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 40 hours, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you have the absenteeism in hours, and then you have the reason for absence. Reason for absence, and there are so many of them. Unjustified absence, unknown, medical consultation, diseases of the eye and adnexa, medical consultation, patient follow-up, and you have so many reasons given to you. All right. And the last column that we have here says compensation per hour. So for every employee, the amount you pay them per hour, $35, $49, $47, $51, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, looking at the data the way it is, all right, looking at the data the way it is, we've looked at all the columns one by one. I want to ask you a question. Can you tell anything from these data sets by just looking at it the way it is? Can you tell anything from the data sets? I want somebody to respond. Can you tell anything from the data set? Just looking at the data, we've looked at it together, the ID, the month of absence, the day of the week, and so on and so forth. Can you tell anything at all from the data? It's not a trick question, it's a straightforward question. So if you'd love to respond, you can type your answer into the chat, or you can use the raised hand icon, and I would ask you to unmute and we'll get to hear from you. Tinuade says nothing. Eunice says no, we can't tell anything. All right. And this is usually the case. So for anybody working within a HR analyst role, or a role where you have to deal with data, you'd have so many scenarios like this. All right. So this time around, the data is in Excel. The data could as well be in a database where you need to write some queries to extract the data. But the question is, looking at this, does it make any sense? And the answer is no. Just like Eunice rightly mentioned, I really can't tell anything because there are so many, I have so many rows and so many details I'm looking at the same time. All right. And that's the reason why we need tools that help us do what? Summarize the data. Summarize the data. Okay. So when you have data like this, there is a process the data has to go through, and then it starts to make sense. And that's the role of a HR analyst, because this is a HR related data set related to absenteeism. Okay, so how can you take this data, do one or two things to the data for it to start to make sense to anybody who looks at it? All right, so we've seen the data, we've seen what it looks like. All right, we'll then need to see what the report looks like, and then we'll ask more questions again. All right, Vincent has his hand up. Vincent, I would ask you to unmute yourself very quickly and let's hear from you. So Vincent, go ahead, please. Okay, Vincent, I believe you want to say something. You have your hand up. I've asked you to unmute yourself. All right. So while Vincent is trying to sort out his audio issues, let's go back to the slides and let's see what the report looks like. Okay, so Esther is saying employees were absent more during summer. You really can't tell, Esther. You are only seeing just a few rows, maybe the first 20 rows, but you have so many more, right? So now you can see, if I scroll down, you can see spring, spring, spring. All right, if I scroll down, you'd see autumn. If I scroll down, you'd see winter. So you can't really say the number of employees when they were absent. Was it during spring or summer or winter and so on and so forth, because you have a lot of data in here. And that's usually the case when you work in an organization where they are data driven and they need somebody to help them make sense of the data. You can't look at the data in the shape of rows and columns the way they are and for it to make any sense to you. All right, now let's go and look at the reports. Okay, it's a report that looks at just the questions we have on the screen. Remember, we have 8 questions. So these 8 questions have been answered, and a report was generated from these 8 questions. All right, so which month has had the highest, absence in terms of hours? Which day of the week had the highest, employee absence? Total number of staff, total absent hours. Do you have a specific age category that represents or tend to have, higher absence rates across the company, and so on and so forth? So all these 8 questions, we've answered them, and then we generated a report. Now let's look at that report, and then let's go back to the question I asked you earlier. Okay, and this is what a report looks like. Very simple, straight to the point, very easy to read and understand. Okay, so I want us to take 2 minutes and look at this. And like I mentioned earlier, for those who are just joining, the video to creating this, all right, it's a 20 minutes video. I'm going to share it with you, and you create this yourself. Okay, so everybody here, 90 of you, by the end of today's session, when you get all the materials, the recording for this session, you get the recording on how to create this, everybody will be able to create the same. You don't need to have any experience. You don't need to have any knowledge. You would know how to do this. Okay, but let's look at this for 2 minutes. And once you've looked at it, I want somebody to volunteer to tell us what they can see. Even if it's just one thing you can see from this analysis. If it's just one thing you can see, if you can see more than one, let's know and let's hear what you think. All right, so let's look at it carefully. Remember, for the month, 1 represents January, 12 represents December, so 1 to 12. Okay, for the day of the week, 2 is Monday, 3 is Tuesday, 4 is Wednesday, 5 is Thursday, and 6 is Friday. All right, so just take note of that while you look at the screen. Okay, so if you want to speak, just use the raised hand icon. I'll be very happy to ask you to unmute, and let's hear from you. All right, Vincent, your hand is up again. The other time I asked you to unmute, but you couldn't. So I'm going to ask you to unmute again very quickly. Okay, so Vincent has his hand up. I would love one more person. So let's have 2 or 3 people who would love to share their insights or their ideas on what they can see. Oh, this is what I think I can see, right? So when we've seen something, I want us to then think like HR analysts. So we've seen the data we had initially, we've transformed the data into this report. But it's not going to stop there. We have to present this to the management to tell them that, okay, this is what we need to do to reduce absenteeism. So while we are looking at it, I also want us to think about the strategies, the ideas, the initiatives, okay, the programs we can put in place to reduce absenteeism. Okay, so just think about that as well. But first of all, let's hear from Vincent, and let's see what let's hear what Vincent has to say. So Vincent, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, so from the graph presentation here is the month of March, I think, has the highest number of absentees. I think it hit about 800 absentees. 800 staffs are absent in the month of March. And I think on Tuesday, being the day of the week, we have Tuesday. Okay, this y-axis is hours, right?
Yes, the absent hours. But remember, I mentioned that number 2 is Monday. So the week starts from 2 to 6. 2 is Monday.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so on Monday, total absent hours by the day of the week, I think, okay, on Monday has recorded the highest number of hours that people were, Monday recorded the highest number of hours on Monday, and March recorded the highest number of absentees. I think that's that for now.
Okay. Brilliant, fantastic, Vincent. Is your name Vincent or Vicente?
Okay, Vicente for like AKA, but Vincent is my name.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Vincent. All right, so what I want you to do, Vincent, thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming up to tell us what you think. Start to think of initiatives or programs that we as a company can recommend to this company so that they can reduce absenteeism for those particular months. All right, so you've talked about March. You talked about March. March seems to have the highest, right? So one of the first things we want to do is to even find out, why do we have the most number of absentees in the month of March, or the highest absence hours in the month of March? Also on Mondays, all right, so you can see Monday, it drops on Tuesday, it drops again on Wednesday, and it's the lowest on Thursday. So why do we have Monday, like you rightly mentioned, Vincent? And what do you think we can do to bring down the number of, absenteeism within those days and March that you have rightly recognized? Okay, so just think about it while I take more questions.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that, Vincent. Okay, so I'll move on to Michael. So Michael, I'd expect that you tell us something a bit different from what Vincent has said. So feel free to unmute yourself, Michael, and let's hear from you.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me clearly?
Loud and clear. Go ahead, please.
All right, good evening. So it's a quite simple report that just shows us the months where we have highest hours of absentees and day of the week and the rest. So, and of course, like the other person has said, we can see that the month of March, I think 1 is January, right? So 3 is March. So we have highest absent hours in the month of March and the month of July. So we may want to ask that, because of course this is just one part of the analysis. And one thing about data analyst or HR analysis, we need to continue and dig deeper and do probably things like root cause analysis. So this data has given us this information that, okay, the month of March and month of July, we have has not answered the question why, right? So we may need to now do another survey around that particular problem. Okay, what happens in the month of March? We might ask our employees, you know, is it that you know, we have special events that, you know, that month, or are there too many public holidays? Or okay, that will be exempted, since we're talking about working hours. But we would want to know the reason why, you know, we have highest hours of absences in those months by, you know, asking more questions, right? Also, you can see that the days of the week, Friday seems to have the least hours. And of course, as an organization, we want to reduce, you know, absenteeism. So we want to see what are we doing on Friday that we are not doing in the rest of the days, right? For instance, Monday seems to be the highest hours, right? So, you know, exactly what's wrong, you know, exactly what's wrong, and how can we, you know, solve that? You know, why do we have so many people always asking, you know, off on Monday or something like that, right? So we want to know what we are doing on Friday so that we can probably apply that to Monday. And of course, I can see from the reason that the first, you know, in fact, most everything talks about sickness, right? So there's nothing like physician or anything. So if these are the reasons why people are absent, then we may probably need to have, maybe if the company does not have maybe a healthcare system or a HMO that can, you know, monitor employees you know health, so that we can probably treat them, you know, before it gets worse, because probably it's when it gets worse they have to stay longer in the hospital. So probably it's when they go to the hospital, then they have long, you know, hospital stay hours, which will now affect our own absenteeism in the organization. So if there are any ways we can try to care for the employees to reduce things like this sickness, it will help reduce the absenteeism. So yeah, that's what I have.
Fantastic, brilliant recommendations, Michael. So one thing I love that Michael said is, look, what analysis does for you is it gives you room to ask more questions. All right. So you've seen the reports, very simple reports. The first two, where you have absent hours by month, absent hours by the day of the week, you can start to ask questions. So what happens in the month of March? What happens in July? All right. And what happens on Mondays as well? So we can go a little bit deeper to find out those reasons by asking more questions, especially if the answers don't exist in the data sets that we have. So brilliant, Michael. And Michael also, of course, the major reasons are health related, but I'd love to also hear from one more person, I think, before we move on. Omar, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Do you want to go ahead? Let's hear from you, Omar. Okay, Njideka. So Njideka, I've asked you to unmute. I'm not sure Omar is ready yet, so please go ahead, Njideka.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. According to the data that is here, I was like trying to go through the results in everything. I think when you're analyzing data, you do interrelation, or it has to be interrelated. So I was amazed to see that the diseases of the highest disease reported here, why they're always absent from work, is musculoskeletal system. And I was also amazed to see that the age group of this, the highest, is 28. These are the younger generation. So I was like, okay, what does the company do? Do they sit for long hours? Do they stand for long hours? And if it's common with the younger generation, it means they are not getting the right vitamins or food, supplements or something. Because for younger ones, they should be stronger, but the excuses are coming from them. And the disease is this. And you can't tell somebody if you're sick, you can come to work. So I'm trying to check it out. And then for the month, I also noticed that March, also I was trying to think, is March raining season, or, maybe it's the season where they experience cold or something, because it has to be interrelated. Then the absent hours by day of the week, I was so happy that Monday was not there, because nobody would really want to have Monday. So it was Tuesday that is the highest. So it's also not too good that the first 2 days of the week, you have to have that highest number of days, want to take, leave from work. So that's what I'm trying to say. Maybe the company should.
Njideka, I think, oh, you muted.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yes, go ahead.
So what was the last thing I said before I went off, please?
Oh, you said you were trying to think of what to tell the company. I think your recommendation.
Yes, I was like, okay, just like what the last person said. I'm in support of the fact that they should look into their health, health incentives, or maybe in the office, and also feeding, and all of that, or maybe, check exercises as well in the company. I hope they don't sit for too long or stand for too long, and all of that. That's my simple analysis on this. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Njideka. I think that's absolutely brilliant. I'd have loved to, hear from more people, but let's see if we can hear from Omar. I think Omar was trying to speak, unmute the other time. So Omar, I've asked you to unmute again. So try to unmute. Let's see if it works now. Okay. Omar, I think there's something wrong with the audio, and for some reason you can't unmute yourself. All right. So between what Vincent, Michael, and Njideka has told us, I think we've gotten something very reasonable from the reports that we have, something that we can implement. Even if we don't implement everything, we can start to ask more questions. Okay. Now, in asking more questions, we start to look at the data and ask ourselves, can we do multivariate analysis? And what is multivariate analysis? Can I take the age and take the work hours and see how they relate? So if the workload for a particular age group is high, could that lead to those age group being absent more than the others? Okay, and we start to ask these questions, we start to answer them, and that's where you start to get fantastic insights. But even from what we've seen so far, okay, Vincent has said the month of March, the month of July, we have the highest absent hours within the company. And then on Monday, like Njideka mentioned, the first day of the week, we have the highest absent hours. And looking at the reason, they're all medical related. And the one with the highest is diseases of musculoskeletal system and something like that, okay? So now we really don't know what this means, all right? But it has to do with the skeletal, the muscles. So if the work people do have to do with lifting of heavy equipment, also have to do with sitting down for too long, can we start to look at some of these issues and how to prevent them? And as an analyst, you always have to do more research. But we're just going to summarize very quickly, all right? Looking at the age, the absent hours by age, you'd also notice that a particular category of employees represents the highest absent hours, and that's from the age 28 to 38. So if you look at the age 28 to 38, you have the bulk of the absent hours falling within that age group. Now, we could have put the employees into groups as well. We write some calculations, we put them into groups so we can see those groupings a lot better. But just looking at what we have, if you look at the age group 28 and you look at the age group 38, between 28 to 38, that represents the highest number of absent hours. And that forms the youth of the organization. Because if you look at the age group that we have at the top, or the average age of the employees within the company is 36. So if you have between 28 to 38, representing the highest number of absent hours, then there is a problem, and these problems need to be resolved. All right. So based on what you said, the first thing we want to recommend, and I'm just going to write that on my screen so that we are all working on this together. Like I said, I want our session today to be a lot more interactive, and where we have to suggest and recommend to this company together. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and would write this together. So just give me 1 second, and I'll share this particular screen. So what's the first recommendation we want to give? The first recommendation is for us to implement a health and wellness program, just like Michael mentioned. All right, Michael mentioned that we should implement. So I'll just come in here at the top, I'll type in recommendations. Okay, the recommendations you have all provided. And if you have more, please send it into the chat. Send it into the chat and I'll pick it from there. So recommendations to reduce absenteeism based on the reports that we've seen. So number one, like Michael mentioned, Michael said, implement employee wellness programs. Okay, implement employee wellness programs. And this can include something as simple as set up a gym, all right? Or set up a spa if you can, or maybe a sauna where employees can go to, a spa or massage, something like that, all right? So you provide this for your employees, employee wellness. Michael also talked about health screening, okay? Because as we were speaking, I was writing it down. He also talked about health screening, okay? So that's number two for me. Because if you look at the major reasons, they're all medical related: diseases of the musculoskeletal system, injury, poisoning, and certain other consequences, medical consultation, dental consultation, disease of the digestive system. So they include, the bulk has to do with health-related issues, all right? So first of all, you can start by implementing employee wellness programs where the employees can go to the gym after the office. When I used to work in Nigeria, the companies had gym on the highest floor, on the 5th floor. You go to the gym after work, or you come very early, you go to the gym and you get to exercise. And that keeps you a lot healthier than if you don't have those resources available. All right, then health screening. And this is simply because timely screening, okay, can help to identify underlying issues very quickly. Okay, so if your employees have a particular medical condition and you have HMO, you can bring them into the office. Where you have health screening, of course, you'd make it as private as possible, where each employee is attended to, privately, and they get to share with the doctors, and they get their screening, and doctors can tell them that, look, you have these underlying issues which could escalate into this or that. And by identifying it early, what happens? Treatment can start early, and they get to avoid long stays in the hospital eventually. All right. So health screening, like Michael also recommended. Okay. So that's for number two. He also talked about HMO. All right. So health screening, and I'm going to talk about HMO as well. So if you don't have HMO, you want to implement that. If you have HMO, you want to look at other ways of optimizing the benefits you get from the HMO. So can you have doctors from the HMO or the HMO related hospitals give sessions, right, health, mental health awareness sessions, give sessions on different areas with regards to work-related wellness programs, and so on and so forth. It doesn't have to be physical, it can be virtual, but the information is passed across to all employees within the company. All right. I also looked at, Njideka talked about the fact that could it be possible that some of the health related issues are seasonal? Okay. Is it possible that it's seasonal? Right. So in the month of March, for example, you have the rainy season starts. And if you are in the UK, somewhere around Europe, you have that's when, you have, I think it's autumn or spring, I'm not really sure, but winter starts to go around that period. All right. So the weather is still cold, but not as cold as during winter. Okay. So the body can also start to getting used to the change of the weather. You start to have some issues with regards to flu and so on and so forth. So could it be possible that the illnesses are also related to the seasons? And I think some other key questions that Michael mentioned is, why are people absent on Mondays and Tuesdays? Why are more people, or why do we have longer hours? Okay, why do we have longer hours, or why are more people absent on Mondays and Tuesdays? And also, if you look at the month, you can also say also in March and July. July is the beginning of summer, so a lot of people might want to travel during summer. Okay, so during summer, what can we do? How can we ensure that we have more people in the office, we don't have so many people absent, and so on and so forth? And one other thing we also want to consider, when you have a lot of young people absent from work, that could also indicate, if you don't have flexible hybrid work systems within the company, you might want to implement that. All right. So rather than coming to the office every day, can we have people more accountable? Can we have them more committed and more engaged by implementing a hybrid work system? You don't have to come to the office every day. You come 2 days in the week, 3 days a week, and so on and so forth. Okay. So that's another key consideration we can consider. So we can say, we can implement, I'm just going to add that to our recommendations. Okay. Implement hybrid work for the younger employees where necessary. Okay, and I'm just going to write just these 5, and this is all based off your recommendations. Okay, Didion is saying incentives should be increased during summer. Fantastic. Incentives should be increased during summer. So people would rather stay rather than to travel during summer in the month of July. Courage is also saying the company needs to check or work on the routine times so that staff can have adequate break. Absolutely. And Ifeolu is also saying, since they have musculoskeletal disease, their seats may need to be looked into for if they meet the ergonomics criteria and all of that. Absolutely, I agree with you, Ifeolu. That's all fantastic. I'm just going to copy Ifeolu's comments and I'll paste it as one of the things or recommendations would consider. All right, so I'll paste that in. That's Ifeolu's comments. Okay, and this is what we have. Now, what have we done using this simple exercise? And trust me, the things we've seen so far from the report that I showed you is just a fraction of so many other analyses we could have done. All right, we could have done a lot more, in the sense that we could have compared different variables and see if one leads to the increase of the other. We can do multivariate analysis and see, is it possible that those who are social drinkers and social smokers and have a high workload leads to higher absenteeism? All right, and we can start to look at those multiple variables to come up with more insights. All right, but this is what we have based on the recommendation that we think we can make to the company from the little analysis we've done. By doing what? By taking the data we had, summarizing the data, and coming up with a report that looks like this. At the beginning, when I showed you this, nobody had any ideas. Nobody could say anything. Nobody knew what the data was all about. But when you summarize and you do something called exploratory data analysis, all right? And this is simply univariate analysis, which is looking at individual columns, all right? So we looked at the month and we see absenteeism. We looked at the day of the week and we looked at absenteeism. We looked at the reason and we saw absenteeism. When I mean in the number of hours, we looked at the age and we also saw the absenteeism, all right? So we took one individual labels or individual columns and we tried to see what they told us. And just from that, we could give recommendations to the company to say that these are the things you need to do to make changes. And these are some of the questions we also need to answer or need to look at to get more insights from the data that we have. The ability to take data that exists in that form, in the shape of rows and columns, and convert it into something that looks like this, where we can start to generate insights that make sense and we give recommendation, is simply what HR analytics is all about. All right. So in very simple terms, HR analytics is simply analyzing people-related data, providing insights and recommendations to drive HR strategies and processes. So when you're coming up with processes and strategies in your company, you're not coming up with them based on what you think. You are coming up with those strategies based on what the data says, based on what you have analyzed, based on the questions you have asked, and so many other questions you can generate, like Michael mentioned, to dive deeper into the data, to extract more insights and come up with more recommendations and see where the problem really is at the end of the day. So as a HR analytics professional, your role is to take data that looks like this and transform them into insights that look like this, where you can start to come up with recommendations and give to the company for them to make decisions. And that's your role for somebody who works with data, analyzes data, and comes up with insights. As simple and short as that. All right. And like I mentioned, the video on how to create this report, it's about 20 minutes. It's a 20 minutes video. I'm going to send that to you as well at the end of today's session, so you can also build the same thing. So step by step, what you need to do, how do you download the application that you would use to summarize your data and have this report, right? You'd use Power BI. Okay, you'd see how to download and install Power BI, and you'd also see how to download the data that the link is embedded on this slide. Download the data and come up with these very simple reports. And like I mentioned, you don't need to have any experience using Power BI. You'd be able to do this, every single person, at the end of today's session. Okay, now that we've seen what a HR analytics professional or a HR analyst does, the next question is, how do I learn the skills to get into this space? So I'm a HR professional, or I'm not, but I want to get into HR analytics. So what are the things I need to learn? What must I know? How can I learn the skills to handle data, summarize data in the manner that I can start to extract insights from the data? Okay, I'll be sharing that with you shortly. Again, in the slides, I also have more videos you can watch on how we predicted employee attrition using Power BI as well. It's on YouTube. Click on the link and ensure you watch that. But as a HR professional across the globe, across the major economies in the UK, in the US, and in Canada, the salary is also fantastic. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people would want to get into tech, Okay, so for those of you who are on the call, I want to hear your reason. Okay, so if you want to get into tech, you want to get into HR analytics, what's the reason? Why do you want to get into HR analytics? We can do correlation and regression. Absolutely, Oluwafemi. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. All right. Why do you want to get into HR analytics, or why do you want to get into tech? Just drop that into the chat, and I would love to hear what you think. Okay, so what's your major reason? My own major reason for getting into data analytics in the very first instance is the money, number one, and number two, the impact. Okay, because the moment you give recommendations and your recommendations are implemented, you see the impact real time. So if you tell people that, look, we need to implement employee wellness programs, you start to see that your employees have better attendance, they have better health, they don't fall sick as often because you've implemented some solutions, all right? If you implement flexible work hours, you also see productivity increase, which was not the case. So real time, you'd see the impact of the strategies you recommend based on the data you've analyzed. And that was the major reason why I decided to get into that, okay? Data is life, Grace says, make more money, Oluwafemi, absolutely. Who doesn't want to make more money? Grace says data is life and it is used to make transformation, absolutely. I want to get into tech because I love working with data. Courage. I'm already a HR professional and I would love to earn more. I'd also love to focus on the strategic side of HR rather than operational, absolutely. Natalie. So Natalie, what happens usually is everybody sees HR as a cost center, all right? So HR really doesn't do anything. They just spend money here and there. But it's time for HR to shift from what they are used to a more strategic, focused HR, all right? Where you are looking at data, analyzing the data, coming up with recommendations based on the analysis you've done. And that would have significant impacts in the company. And rather than HR being looked at as a cost center, HR becomes a more strategic partner that also sits on the table. All right. The more value you create, the more value you earn. Absolutely. Oluwafemi. Opeyemi says, to help organizations I join to reach their goals and stay relevant. Tech is the future. Tech is the today, not just the future. Tech is the today, the now, and of course, also the future. All right. Fantastic. Spot on. Absolutely. Technology is the future. So I want to build my career, skill, and make more money. Adorable. Thank you very much, guys. So again, like I mentioned, the salary is fantastic when you get into tech. And that's one of the major reasons for me. Two key reasons: money and impact. Because your recommendations, you see them coming to life at the very moment you set them going. All right. In the UK, for example, the average salary of a HR analyst is about £32,000. And this is the average. Okay. So usually it's a lot higher depending on the company, depending on the industry where you get the job. In the US, it's about $62,000 US, and in Canada, about 71,000 Canadian dollars. And like I mentioned, this is the average based provided by these websites, which you can all go to check as well. So many people have gotten jobs, and I'll be sharing their success stories with you, what they've done to get those jobs and how they've been able to successfully handle those roles. And their salaries, I'll tell you for a fact, is far more than what the average is that you have on the screen at the moment. So what does it take to become a HR analytics professional? What's the pathway? What do you need to learn? What must you know how to do? Somebody talked about correlation analysis, regression. How do you do all of that? What tools would help you do that? So HR analytics is a combination of two broad skills. The first one is data analytics. All right. So as a HR analytics professional, you must understand data analytics. You can't run away from it. And the first skill for a data analyst, what you need to learn is problem solving. Problem solving. You are going to solve problems. Michael talked about root cause analysis. I need to know the root cause of the problem. Root cause analysis can be done using different techniques. From the 5 whys, that where you would ask the question why 5 times to help you get to the root cause, to so many other techniques you need to apply to solve the problem, to understand what the problem is all about, to know if the data exists to solve that problem. And if the data does not exist, where do you get the data? How do you gather the data to start to answer the questions that you need to answer? All right. You look at different frameworks that would help you solve data analytics related problems, like the CRISP DM framework and so many other frameworks, the McKinsey-Macy model that helps you break problems into multiple parts. So when you solve those multiple parts, you solve the entire problem eventually. So problem solving is number 1. And then you move to Excel for analytics. So once you understand how to solve problems, you know the right type of techniques to use, you know the tools and the frameworks to deploy to solve different types of problems, you then start to move into Excel. Excel is the most versatile tool you would ever use for data analytics. All right. So you learn how to use Excel to summarize data, to come up with dashboards similar to what we created. You can create that using Excel. You'd learn how to use different functions and different data analytics toolbox to coming up with solutions to problems. All right. The VLOOKUP, the index and match, different other advanced functions, the E function, the logical functions, and so on and so forth. You'd learn how to do that in Excel. Now, a lot of people think they know Excel until they see problems that needs to be solved using Excel, data analytics related problems. So if you've used Excel as an accountant, you've used Excel for your budgeting and so many other things, that's totally different from Excel for analytics. So you need to learn Excel. That's number 2. Once you know how to use Excel, you then start to look into Power BI. Power BI is a business intelligence tool, and that was what was used to generate that report that we all looked at together, came up with our recommendations and questions, and so on and so forth. You'd learn how to use Power BI to create amazing data visualizations. You get your data from different sources, you transform the data, keeping the data in the right shape and the right format. You build your data models, connecting data from multiple sources, creating a model that creates relationships among all the different data. And then you come up with your reports and your analysis. All of these done using Microsoft's Power BI. All right. And this is a major tool for anybody in data, for anybody in analytics. You need to understand how to use Microsoft's Power BI. Once you've learned problem solving, Excel, Power BI, you then move to SQL, structured query language. All right. What's SQL? SQL is a language. It's a standard language used to interact with databases. Now, organizations would not have their data in an Excel file. They would not send you data in an Excel file. They would have data in a database. And for you to interact with the database, extract data from the database, or even do analysis on the database, you need to understand SQL, SQL, structured query language. All right. So, and I would say this and take it to the bank. Any role that has data in front of it, data analyst, data scientist, HR analytics, that has to do with data, you must learn SQL. You can't run away from it because employers would request that you have this skill, even though you might not use it on your current role. So as a HR analytics professional, you might find yourself in a robust team that has data analysts, HR analysts, data engineers, database administrators, and so on and so forth. And everybody has their own role to play. So you might not deploy your skills on SQL to solve anything, but employers would request that you have that skill. So if anything employers demand for, it's important you have those skills to place you at, ahead of the competition when you start to apply to jobs out there. And the last data analytics skill you need to learn is how to leverage the emerging technologies like the generative tools, AI tools like ChatGPT, as a HR analytics professional. All right. Now, the world is moving very fast with regards to new technologies and how to solve problems. All right. And one of the tools, I don't know if you've heard of ChatGPT or if you've used ChatGPT before, just type in yes into the chat. ChatGPT. If you've used it before, type yes into the chat. We had a session earlier this month on how to leverage ChatGPT as a data analyst, business analyst, and data scientist. I use ChatGPT every single day to do work as a data analyst. You can't run away from it. And when people ask questions around, will AI take my job? Will I ever, be out of job because of AI? And I just tell them very simply, those that would have their jobs taken by AI are those that don't have the skills to complement with AI, all right? But having the skills in analytics, you can use Excel, Power BI, SQL. How do you use these new technologies, generative technologies like AI, like ChatGPT, to make your work a lot faster, to make your work a lot smarter, all right? So again, when you go on YouTube, when I share the link with you, just look at the master classes we've had the last few weeks. You can watch them. We had a lot of amazing sessions on how to use ChatGPT as an analyst, how to leverage other technologies like the Microsoft Fabric as well. So watch it. It's for free. Just watch it and see these new technologies and the role they will play. Now, employers are also requesting for employees to have these key skills, all right? So how do you complement the skills you already have to get things done a lot faster, most especially? So if you can, ensure you watch the session we had, the free session we had on leveraging ChatGPT as a data analyst or data scientist or business analyst. So once you've learned these data analytics skills, you then move to the HR skills. Because remember, courage says no. So there are lots of no's that you haven't used ChatGPT before, all right? It's absolutely important that you use ChatGPT. I'll tell you, okay? And ensure that go to our YouTube, subscribe, follow us. You have a lot of amazing content that you get to enjoy, all right? So just go on YouTube and just type in 10 Analytics. That's all you need to do. Type in 10 Analytics and then you'd see all the videos we have for you to watch, all right, free of charge. Now, the HR skills you also need to learn. Number one is HR analytics and performance evaluation, all right? So you need to know how to analyze HR-related data, okay? You need to know the different types of metrics you need to track and how to measure performance of the company. Because remember, just like the other lady said, where she wants to go into a more strategic role. So how do you manage performance? How do you track performance of employees and evaluate performance of employees? So you learn how to do that as part of the HR skills you'll be learning with regards to analytics. You'd also learn the HR metrics and life cycle. You need to know the different types of metrics to track: attrition, absenteeism, what's the talent, how do we optimize our talent pipeline? So you look at cost of hire, time to hire, and so many other metrics that you need to track to ensure that as a company, you're not just meeting your goals and objectives with regards to revenue and all of that, but the people also play a critical role. And that's the role HR also has to play. So as a HR analytics professional, where you have your data analytics skills, the tools that would help you analyze that data and come up with insights, you also need to know exactly what to track, what metrics you need to look at, and so on and so forth. You'd also learn how to create dashboards and analyze people-related data. All right. So we saw the report I showed you a few seconds ago, and that's a very short, simple report, straight to the point, nothing too complex. You'll learn how to create more complex and advanced looking dashboards that would give key insights into major areas of the people-related issues across the business. So you'd learn that as well. You'd also learn collaboration and report automation. So for the reports you'll be coming up with, for the reports you'll be presenting to management, maybe on a weekly, maybe on a monthly, or quarterly performance review sessions? How do you automate those reports so that you don't do them every single time you have to make presentations? Right? I remember a long time ago when I was still very new in my professional career, we had monthly performance reviews, okay? And I was the one responsible for gathering data from different people and coming up with the presentation. So every single month, when it's time, about a week to the monthly performance review session, I'm always very busy. Busy doing what? Busy consolidating, analyzing, and doing all of those things. And it was very tedious. I always dread, that period of the month. But just simply because I did not have the skill at that time to automate the process. All right. So what you'll be learning in collaboration and report automation is how to automate that process of your reporting so that once you create the reports the first time, you don't have to create it the second time or the third time or the fourth time. So if you create it in January, in the month of February, once the data for February comes, you take that data, put it into a folder, refresh, and you have your reports updated and generated for you. And all you have to do is just to go and present. So you'd learn how to do that in addition to so many other automation capabilities you'll be learning as well. And finally, you'll be learning how to build your case and create action. All right. And what does this mean? And I'll use a story of somebody who joined our program to explain what building your case and creating action means. Now, a gentleman joined our program sometime last year, and his objective was to get a promotion in the office. All right. He was an assistant manager. He wanted to get promoted to a manager. Right. So he joined the program ready to learn and, advance his career. Now, what happened? He learned how to do all these amazing things in class, build dashboards, analyze people-related data. And he was amazed and very excited about his new skills. Now, luckily for him, the head of HR at that point in time resigned, and the company needed to fill the role. So they made it open for both internal and external applicants. So he applied for the role. Now, during the recruitment process itself, the assessment centers they had set up, there was a session that involved analyzing a case study, coming up with dashboards and analysis and so on. He was the only person that had the skill to take data into Power BI, analyze the data, create a dashboard, come up with recommendations and insights, and so on and so forth. He went into that assessment. He did absolutely well. Now, he did so well that they didn't even consider anybody else. And eventually he moved from an assistant manager role to the head of HR in the company. He was the only one that had HR analytics skills among the participants they were recruiting for. Now, how do you build your case and create action? It's simply doing the same thing he had done, positioning yourself in a situation where you showcase the skills you have. Like somebody rightly mentioned earlier, HR is always looked at as these people who really can't, they don't know what is going on in the business. They just disturb us with policies, staff handbook, and so on and so forth. All right. But this time around, you showcase that I have a lot more skills than just sending emails or policies. I can analyze the people-related data, see where the problems are. Okay. See the attrition issues we have. We have high attrition within the company, and these are the reasons why people are leaving. So HR can start having stay interviews instead of exit interviews. And that's how you create action within the company. All right. And you build your case as well, showcasing that you are a lot more than they've always thought about. So these are the 10 skills you need to become a HR analytics professional. From 1 to 5 for the data analytics and 6 to 10 for the HR skills. And of course, you have the breakdown of what each of those skills entails, from problem solving to building your case and creating action. So problem solving, like I mentioned, you'll be learning, first of all, how to define a problem statement. Am I solving the problem, or am I just solving symptoms of the problem? All right. The CRISP-DM framework, which is a standard process for data mining across any industry. So anywhere you find yourself, there's a standard process you follow to solving a data analytics related problem. All right, you understand how to get to the root cause of a problem using the 5 whys, designing an issue tree, the McKinsey-Mason model, and so on and so forth. Then you move into Excel. And like I mentioned earlier, the program itself is designed for people who are beginners. You are getting into the space. So the assumption is that you know nothing, because people also ask the question, do I need experience to get into the program because I'm scared I'll be left behind because I'm totally new to the space? So your Excel class, if you look at that, the very first thing you are doing is introduction into Excel, understanding the Excel environment, and so on and so forth. And then you move into Power BI, you move into SQL, and then you move into the other areas with regards to HR. All right. So when you get the slides, you can take out time, look at the curriculum, and understand all the things that you have in there. Okay, I've explained them already when I explained all the 10 skills you need to get into HR analytics. Now, some of the things you'll be building and working on would look like this. Okay, so this is Deborah, and this is an attrition analysis. All right, so similar to what I showed you, but this is a lot more elaborate. It's a lot more robust, where you look at a company that has issues with regards to attrition. People are leaving the company and they don't know why. So they want to find out the reason why people are leaving. Okay, so this was a report generated by Deborah, who was one of the people that had gone through the analytics program. So take out time to also click on the link. You can interact with all the reports of people that have built amazing work like this. This is Kauthar. Kauthar also created this particular HR attrition dashboard, posted it on LinkedIn, because that's what we always advise people. All right, and I'll speak to that as we move on. For somebody who wants to get into a new career path like HR analytics, you must show that you are learning and you can do things and you've done things within that space. So I shouldn't be doubting if you can build a dashboard. I shouldn't be doubting if you know SQL. I shouldn't doubt if you can use Excel. I should go to your profile and see social proof that you've done this before. And that's what all our participants always do. When you build something, you post it on your LinkedIn profile. This is Yinlayefa, created this recruitment dashboard to see the different channels, how to optimize recruitment within the company. You have Olufemi, who built this dashboard as well. And then you have same Olufemi as well. Okay, so take out time, look through all the different dashboards built by people, and you get to see some of the things you'll be doing. Okay, now how do you learn and what's the duration of the program? The duration is for 4 months. So it's a 4-month learning journey where you would learn all the skills from problem solving to Excel, to Power BI, to SQL, to ChatGPT for HR analytics. And then you'd learn HR analytics and dashboarding, HR performance evaluation, HR metrics and life cycle, creating action and building your case, and all those things for the space of 4 months. So you have 3 months project-based classes where you'd have a facilitator, a trainer in front of you, walking you through projects for 3 months. And then once you are done with your classes, you have a capstone project. The capstone project is sort of an assessment to validate the skills you've learned. So you get a project where you'd have to deploy all the things you've learned in class to assess your skills and see where you are. Once you complete the capstone project, you then join the 1-month internship. Now, the 1-month internship is a fantastic avenue for you to build a portfolio. All right, for you to build a portfolio. Now, your portfolio is simply where you have your projects, you have all the projects you've built, solid projects that you put the link on your CV. You have your link on your LinkedIn profile as well, so that when a recruiter wants to see the type of things you've built over time, they just click on that link and it takes them to your portfolio. The 1-month internship shows the depth of the skills and the depth of the projects that you worked on over time. And that's what you do during the 1 month internship. Now, classes happens on Saturdays and Sundays. Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. West African time or British summer time, depending on where you are. And on Sundays, you have the Watch Me Do It videos. So your Watch Me Do It videos are self-paced videos that you get to watch. You understand the concept, you learn 1 or 2 things, you practice what you see. And then on Saturday, you have your live class where you have a facilitator and a trainer right in front of you, helping you navigate, working on projects and solving real life case studies. And of course, when applying to jobs, one of the things we always also advise people to do is there's a tendency to search for HR analyst roles because you have just completed a HR analytics program, but that's wrong. How do you leverage the diverse profiles and the diverse nomenclature of jobs available within the HR analytics realm? So for example, you can get a job as a reward analyst, as a HR analyst, as a HR data analyst, as a people analyst, as a talent analyst, and so many other different job titles. And I'll be sharing how you can do that. And these are some of the things we show you during your navigating the job market sessions, where rather than searching for a particular job title, you keep your options open. And what you focus on is on the job requirements. All right. So you look at the job requirements and see if you meet that particular requirement. And if you do, you start to look into applying to that particular role. And again, apart from just applying to jobs, one of the things you want to do is to ensure that you have the 2 key areas available to get that job. I talked about the technical. Everything I've said so far are technical related skills, from your Excel to your Power BI, your data analytics, your HR analytics skills. They are all technical skills. And your technical skills form only 50% of what is required to get a job. And this is the reason why so many people don't get jobs. So many, and they'll keep on applying to jobs, but they will never get the jobs. All right, simply because they don't know how to position themselves, or they don't have the other 50%. They only have one part. All right. So what's the other 50% that you need to start getting a job? And I would love to hear, for those of you that have questions around, oh, I've been trying to transition, I've been trying to switch, but I've had this issue, I've had this stumbling block, I've always gotten rejections from time to time. Okay. The other 50% lies on this slide from 1 to 7. The first is CV review. And this is some of the things, this is what we bring to you when you join our program. All right. Now, why is your CV very, very important during the job application process? Your CV is your representation in a paper format. So any employer or potential employer or recruiter would want to ensure that whoever they are looking at matches the job adverts they have put out there, which of course refers to the job requirements. Okay, so by how many percent do you match that particular job? All right, so you ask yourself the question, have you ever done this before? If you're applying to a job, when you complain that, oh, I've been trying to get remote jobs, remote opportunities, but I really can't. Okay, so when you take your CV, all right, and you take the job description, what is the match? By how many percent does your CV match the job description? Is it 85% or is it 50%? So you need to ask yourself this question. So how do you even find out? What tools do you need to check? All right. And these are the things we'll be providing for you in the program, so that whenever you're applying to a job, you're not just applying to 10 jobs with the same CV, because you would never get any positive response or positive feedback. You'll be doing what? Applying to 10 jobs with 10 different CVs by doing what? Tailoring your CV to meet the job requirements. So that when the companies, because a company cannot look at 1,000 CVs physically, it's impossible. So they pass your CV through something called ATS. applicants tracking system. And this would weed out all those CVs that don't fall within a particular threshold they would have set. So if the threshold is 85% and your CV matches by just about 65, your CV will be weeded out. So the remaining CVs left are those that would get the feedback to come for interviews or move to the next stage. And this is where the CV review session becomes very, very critical. Now, secondly is your LinkedIn. A lot of people don't know how to, leverage and utilize LinkedIn to get the maximum benefits that LinkedIn provides. All right. So LinkedIn is a fantastic tool. And you'd see people say, oh, LinkedIn got me this job, or I got this job through LinkedIn, and so on and so forth. But how is that possible? One of the first things we do, and I want everybody to do this at the end of today's session, all right? Go on LinkedIn and just search. When you open your LinkedIn profile, search Analytics. All right. And when you search Analytics, you have some other, filters at the bottom to filter by posts or filter by people. Filter by what? Posts. Check that first of all, and then filter by people. Okay. So what you'd see is thousands of people that have gone through the program and have posted things on LinkedIn. How does that help? A recruiter would want to see that who you say you are really that person, in the sense that you say you are a HR analyst. You have XYZ on your CV. I can build dashboards on Excel. I can write complex queries, sub-queries, and so on and so forth using SQL. They want to see things like that on your profile. They want to see that you are talking about HR analytics related topics. You are posting dashboards that you built, and so on and so forth. And that's why this becomes very important, right? So optimizing your LinkedIn to attract the best and the biggest organizations out there. Number 3 is Upwork optimization, all right? So for those of you who would want to get remote opportunities, remote jobs, and I'll share some of our participants later down this slide that have gotten jobs. They live in Nigeria, they live in different other countries, but they work for companies in the US, they work for companies across Europe, simply leveraging Upwork, right? So Upwork is a platform that provides so many job opportunities for gigs, different gigs and projects, and eventually you get contracts that could last as long as a year or even longer, working remotely, earning in foreign currency and living and not moving from your country. Number 4 is navigating the job market. And I always use a typical example to explain navigating the job market, all right? We had a session I think that was about 2 weeks ago, on how to transition from a tier 4 student visa to a tier 2 skilled worker visa in the UK, all right? We've done the same for those in Canada. Now, one thing I've found out over time is people have no clue and they have no idea of the different pathways available for them in the country that they reside in. Okay, so they follow one way because everybody is doing one thing, everybody follows that way. Because everybody is doing care, everybody follows care. The only way to get to get a tier 2 visa is through care. Everybody does that, right? But there are opportunities available as a HR analyst where you can get jobs and you can transition to a tier 2 visa. People don't know that it's a point-based system. And there's so many other things that we found out that people have no clue about the way the job market works. And navigating the job market session is where we provide you with those information on what to do, how to take advantage of some of the opportunities that exist within the space. Last week, we had a data analytics masterclass like this, all right? And one of our participants, his name is Benga, he's in Poland, all right? So he came around and said, look, he had been trying to get a job since 2021. He's been in Poland searching for jobs, really couldn't get a job. Then he decided to join Analytics, especially because of one of the programs we offered in the data analytics program. And Benga had altogether about 4 different interview sessions. Some of them I had to prepare him for those interviews. And at the end of the day, he got a job. He got a job early this year. a few months ago, and he's doing very, very well today. Now, and that's how one single decision can change the trajectory for things you've been trying to do for over 2 years. So since 2021, he's been trying to transition, but it's always from one rejection to the other. And it was simply because of key things that involved his CV, involved his LinkedIn, and also interview preparation. All right, I'll talk about that, and even the references and recommendation, okay? Because things like background check, things like your character check, employers would want to see that somebody can vouch for you. You have a referee that can say that, look, I know this person, I've worked with this person, he's of good character, he has X and Y skills, and this is who he says he is, all right? So those references, those recommendations, before the company eventually signs off and confirms your offer, okay, what they do is they reach out to people you've worked with before and to find out who you are in terms of your character and so on and so forth. And we provide those references, we write those recommendations. They send them to us in the form of a link. We click on the link and we put what we need to put in there to ensure that our participants get the jobs eventually. And of course, before you even get to that stage, your interview preparation, absolutely important, all right? I've had so many interview preparation sessions, and one question you'd ask people, okay? You'd ask question as simple as, tell me about yourself, okay? Can we get to meet you, all right? Or if your name is Esther, for example, who is Esther? Can we get to know you? Questions as simple as that, people fumble and they don't know how to answer the question, all right? However, if you are prepared for that interview and you have mentors, people that can show you exactly what to do, how to structure your responses in a way that captivates your audience every single time using an approach called the SEAT approach. SEAT approach, S is for your skills, E is for your experience, A is for your achievements, and T is for your traits or type of person, all right? So how can you use these frameworks to structure your answer to questions that will definitely come up during interviews? Can you walk us through a project where you have used your HR analytics skills to solve a problem? How do you answer that type of question? Do you start to ramble and talk about so many things without putting a structure to it? So you use another structure called the STAR approach. And these are the things we do during the job and interview preparation session. For Benga, this was the game changer. This was the reason why he was never getting jobs, all right? Because Benga had tried to get jobs for so many months, so many years from 2021, all right? But when he gets into the interview, he flops it, all right, simply because he really didn't know what to say, how to answer those questions, how to structure his responses. But we sat down with Benga, we worked with him, and he landed 4 different offers, 4 offers. And of course, he went for the one that gave him the highest, remuneration and flexible work package, where he had to, work from home and so many other things, perks that he had, going on for him. So using the STAR approach, for example, to talk about your stories and your experience helps keep you in check and ensures that you answer the question in a way that they understand what the situation was, your task in that particular situation, the action you took, and then the results, all right? So how do you structure your story to fit into the STAR approach, especially competency-based related questions? And these are some of the things we'd look at. We'd ask you questions, listen to your feedback, and make corrections and give you feedback. And of course, eventually materials on how to prepare to ensure that you put your best foot forward during that interview. And last but not the least is the weekly mentorship session. So every week, you have myself, you have the co-founder of Analytics. We and other industry experts from time to time, we bring them on board to help you, to hold your hands, to navigate your journey, because you are moving into a new space. You are moving into a new career path. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to go for interviews. You'd say the wrong thing. You're going to get rejections, and then you get confused. Do I still continue? Am I good enough? You need somebody to let you know that, look, even the best of the best still flops and makes mistake from time to time. So keep on going, keep on pushing on until you eventually get that opportunity. The weekly mentorship session, I'll tell you for a fact, is one of the major fantastic areas that anybody would get value, absolute value from at the end of the day. All right. So just to quickly move on, so I can take questions from you and we start to wrap up our session for today. You'd work on so many amazing projects in the HR analytics program. You've seen something we looked at on absenteeism, which is a project you're going to look at and do a lot more elaborate analysis from what we've seen today. Of course, we can't do all the analysis or do it on the live call today because it's a Sunday evening. We don't want to stay here till late in the evening because a lot of you would have to go to work tomorrow and prepare for work and so on and so forth. You'd create reports to show how Castro Technologies, if they need to implement a gym in the office based on the employee performance, you get the data, which is very dirty. You work on the data and ensure that you're able to clean the data before you start your analysis. You work on an attrition case study. The same dashboard you saw that Deborah built, Kauthar built, that I showed you earlier. This is the case study that would drive the development of that dashboard eventually. You'd also work on data science salaries, where you look at salaries of different data roles across different regions. You'd also look at fraudulent cases in the bank, where banks record fraudulent transactions. And for somebody who knows how to use different tools, data analytic tools, you'd help the bank identify the key factors leading to fraudulent transactions. Right? So what are the things we need to take note of when we get a transaction? How do we determine if it's fraudulent or not, and so on and so forth? You look at the legacy group case study, focusing on HR related data within a particular company. You'd work for a charity company where you'd help them identify the major donors they have and how to also attract, other donors that would provide them with the required funds. And this particular case study is a SQL case study, right? So you work on so many case studies. That's just to list a few. And of course, other opportunities that lie within the space of HR analytics, like I mentioned earlier, is the ability to work as a freelancer or work on contracts, right? And also work fully remotely as a HR analytics professional. So these are some of the opportunities that lie within the space. And for your trainers and your facilitators, you have Emmanuel. Emmanuel is the head of HR at one of the boutique professional services firm in Nigeria. He's a member of the World Innovation Summit for Education in Doha. And Emmanuel is a fantastic professional who'll be one of the facilitators and resource persons on the program. You have Joseph. Joseph is a HR business partner with IBM. He would also be one of the facilitators on the program. And of course, me, myself, I would also be on the program, and I would work with you on your Power BI journey on how to start understanding the rudiments of Power BI, your facts and dimension tables, your primary and foreign keys, how to create a data model, why Power BI is crucial, and so many other things. I'll work with you on that to help you understand the rudiments of Power BI. You have Tim Lulua, who is a senior data associate with Analytics, would also work with you on different other aspects, how to use SQL and so many other areas in your program. And of course, we have Oladapo, who would work with you on Excel. All right, he's going to work with you on Excel. Oladapo is a senior consultant with Deloitte in Bermuda. And Oladapo is a fantastic professional when it comes to the use of Excel for data analytics. So it's going to work with you as well to ensure that your Excel journey is absolutely phenomenal. And so many other professionals that we have, that will guide you all through the program, from Efemena, who is the co-founder of Tenalytics, to myself, to Nene, who is a commercial analytics professional, currently works with Telos here in Zelos, I beg your pardon, Zelos in the UK. Zelos is a licensee, is one of the licensees of Nike here in the UK. You have Nena, who is a product manager here in the UK, Teniola as well, Sheon, who is a business analyst. You have Obina, you have Emmanuel, you have Ibrahim, and so many other professionals that would work with you during your journey in transitioning into HR analytics. Now, just before we dive into the last part of our session for today, we have somebody who is currently in one of the programs. His name is Kenny Chinyere. Please just confirm we still have Kenny. Kenny would love to talk to you and share his experience. So just like you, Kenny was able to join one of our free sessions like this, a masterclass like this, join the free session. And today, Kenny is doing amazingly well. And would love to share his experience, share his story with you as well before we start to wrap up the session. So Kenny, over to you. Good to see you, Kenny. How are you doing today?
Hi, Adeza. I'm good. How have you been?
Very well, thank you. Where are you joining us from, Kenny?
Lagos, Nigeria.
Lagos, Nigeria. Fantastic. So Kenny, go ahead. Over to you.
Okay, guys. My name is Koka Kennedy. I joined the April 2023 cohort for HR analytics. And I have to say that, the lessons has been mind-blowing. So I would say 4 months ago, I was in your shoes trying to decide which path to take. But, I stumbled on one of the masterclass like this where the courses were broken down. I didn't want too much techie stuff. All the, there are a lot of techie things I've come across in the past that made me change my mind. But come on, this was well broken down. You want to do data scientist, it's there. You want to do HR analytics, it's there. So, and HR analytics was what I wanted. So I picked it up. Now, in choosing between Tenalytics and other platforms, one also needs to be careful. You want to know who is endorsing you. If I take your course, are you well known? I did a research on Tenalytics, as I was told, and I discovered that, man, they did have a track record for years and with quite a lot of people. And then the flexibility of the teaching is also good. I mean, you want to look for, you're here, you're considering getting a remote job. How about remote learning? It makes sense. It gives you that feel ahead of time. And I can tell you that everything you are being taught might look a bit complicated, but as long as you're willing to put the time, I can assure you that, you will get to learn it easily. Finally, I'd like to share one of my works with you guys, just to let you know. Can you guys see anything? I believe so.
Oh, yes,
now,
we can see your screen.
Okay, good. Now that's my dashboard. It's a capstone project. 4 months ago, I was also wowed by whoever was presenting back then, but come on, this is 2-3 months after, and I'm able to do this. Watch as the screen changes while I press all the buttons. I'm sure somebody is sitting back there wondering, wow. But the truth is, you can actually learn this. It's piece of cake. Within 2 months, 3 months, it will be fine. And if you're also the type like me that in the past, you've gone through all those apps, learning apps online, trying to learn data scientists and data analytics, to be honest with you, there's nothing as good as having a real feel of a live class. It makes sense. To cap it up, I'll just say, follow no road. At least that'll be all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Kenny. I think that was very, very good. And thank you for taking our time to share, your own story and your own experience so far. And I love something you said, and which is something that a lot of people always ask the question, or they mention it really, which is, you have people ask that, do you have a physical training? Do you have somewhere we can come to? But those same people want virtual class. They want virtual work. They want to work remotely. They want remote work, but you don't want to learn remotely. All right. So that's very funny. And of course, the world is moving very fast away from, coming to the physical office, at least not every day, because you need that flexibility to even attract the best talent across the globe today. You must provide that avenue for people to work remotely. I can't remember the last time I went to an office. I'll tell you for a fact. Okay, so again, thank you very much, Kenny, for taking out time to share your story with us today. And that was simply amazing. All right, so I have one more story I'd love to share with you, just one more, and then we'll start to take your questions and wrap our session up, because I can see a lot of people are asking, what's the cost of the program? What do I need to do to be a part of the program? I'll share Victor's story very quickly with you. Now, Victor, the gentleman you see on my screen, Victor was a participant in our program October 2022. He joined the HR Analytics program in October 2022, and he got the job as a people operations analyst with a company in the US. He resides in Nigeria, works for Hugo in the US, working remotely, earning in dollars and spending in Naira. And he got the job in December. Started in October, got the job in December. But I want you to listen to Victor. I want you to hear Victor share his own story very quickly, and then I'll start to wrap up the session. So let's listen to Victor.
Hello everyone, my name is Victor. I'm an HR professional with about 3 years of experience that cut across the media, consulting, and aviation industry. And I'm here to share about my story with analytics. So sometimes in 2020, just before COVID started, I began to nurse the desire to upskill and upscale my career. And then it felt like data analytics was something I could do. So I went for an event somewhere in Lagos, Nigeria. And at that event, I met Adeza Suleiman. He just took us on practical Excel. To be very honest, it was one of the best Excel classes I've had because it was very easy to understand and it was relatable. So what happened was that after the event, I met with Adeza and I got his contact, and then we kept in touch. Fast forward to 2022, I was now at a point where I really felt I needed to take a step beyond the desire of wanting to upskill and upscale, and then I reached out to 10 Analytics to take the master in HR analytics course. So we started the course in October, and it was very fascinating. I like the fact that the course is systematic in nature. We moved from problem solving to Excel, and then to Power BI, to dashboarding and all of that. But the icing on the cake is that I've always wanted to transition into the technology industry. I believe that tech is an enabler. I believe that tech is the future, and I also know that for someone like me who does not have a tech background, it was important to leverage a tech skill that would allow me to practice in my domain knowledge. Perfect, which is why I went for the Masters in HR Analytics course. So we started a course in October, and then sometimes in November, I started to apply for jobs and to see how I could position myself for a new opportunity. And guess what happened? One of the roles I applied for, I had to work on case studies, I had to do some things and all that. And you would believe me that all that I was taught in class, even as a beginner at that time, was sufficient for me to land that job. You don't know how happy I was to think that I was just thinking of transitioning to tech, didn't know how to go about it, started classes in a few weeks, and of course, I was able to land a job in that little time. And I've been able to transition my career. So far, even the experience of the class was amazing. The facilitators are very simple. They are tender-hearted. They know how to explain. They are very patient. I like the fact there's also a live class, which means that I can participate and then go back to the recordings after the sessions. I'm eventually glad that if I look at myself between October and now, I've definitely grown in my analytics skills, creating my dashboard. Of course, I'm still a learner, but I'm growing. Here is my point, and I'm trying to encourage everyone out there. If you're an HR professional, if you're a finance professional, if you're a supply chain professional, or even if you're an African youth who's looking to upskill, to transition into data analytics or into tech generally, 10 Analytics is your sure plug. They have amazing facilitators who have a track record of delivering results. The results among students also speak for themselves, which means that you are signing up to a platform that will not just teach you, but help you to grow. They also have LinkedIn optimization sessions, CV writing sessions, and the icing on the part is the growth internship. You know what? It's one thing to learn, and then another thing to have a platform where you can be able to practice these things. So here am I putting out the word. If you want to move into data, if you want to move into tech space, Tech Analytics is your sure plug. I believe they still have some promo going on right now. Go to their website, reach out, sign up, get your journey in tech started. Thank you very much.
So that's Victor. That's Victor's story. And like I mentioned earlier, I've known Victor for a very long time. All right. The first time I met Victor was in 2020. And he was, nursing the idea of getting into tech. And he came to meet me. He joined a session, somewhere in Lagos. And he told me about his desire to get into the tech ecosystem. And I told him that, look, go ahead, and I'm sure I'll support you to ensure that you do that. Now, eventually, it took him 2 years to make the decision to start. And he came to me sometime in 2022, and he was ready to start. He started in October, and by December, he got the job. Right? I'm super excited. Victor is a fantastic guy. And like he mentioned, for those of you that listen to the video, all the things he needed for the case study he was giving during the interview were all the things he had touched on, he had done during his Excel classes, his Power BI classes. And interestingly, his interview was 100% on Excel. And that's why I always tell people, for those who ask the questions around, oh, can I learn all these things within the space of 4 months? Can I transition? Can I get a job? And I look, for somebody like Victor working today with a company in the US, his assessment, his case study, his dashboard, his presentation during the assessment center was 100% on Excel. He never needed to do anything using Power BI or SQL or anything else. It was 100% Excel. So when you get the slides, take our time, listen to the amazing people we have on the slides, their own story, listen to Adebola, listen to Sheila from Ghana, and listen to all the amazing stories that, from people who have joined the program as well. All right. Contact person's detail, Choma. I'll be sharing that with you very shortly. Our phone number, if you want to reach out to us, and all the other details that you need. Our next cohort starts on the 5th of August. 5th of August, all right? And like I mentioned, we've had different sessions leading up to this session that starts on the 5th of August. So we've held free classes. And I think this is the 3rd HR Analytics Masterclass we are having during the month of July, all right? So for those of you that have questions, I'll be available to take your questions in the next 10 minutes, and then we'll start to wrap up the program, all right? So on the 5th of August, we have the new cohort starting, where we'll have amazing professionals start their journey getting into HR Analytics. And what does it take to be a part of the program? All you need to do is to make a payment of £400 to get into the class, or 320,000 Naira if you will be paying in Naira, all right? But we have the discounts available. Like Victor mentioned, we keep this discount for those who join the masterclass, all right? You join the masterclass, you've been a part of the program from 8 p.m., it's almost 10 p.m. So we have a discount for you. However, the discount ends tomorrow. Okay, so like I mentioned, we've had this session right from the beginning of July, and we've kept the discount, and people have always said, oh, look, can you extend the discount for us, and so on and so forth. So the discount ends tomorrow, 31st of August, 31st of July, I beg your pardon. But what's the discount? Instead of paying £400, you get to pay just £300 to be a part of the program. 200 to get into the class, you get into the class to get registered. And as soon as we confirm your payment of £200, you receive a welcome kit. The welcome kit would contain all the materials you need for the program, how to download and install the applications, and everything you will be using during the class itself. And then you have £100 to balance 1 month after the program commences. All right, so £200 to get into the class, and £100 1 month after the program starts. And for those who would want to pay in Naira, all right, instead of paying 320,000 Naira, you get to pay just 270, 180 to get into the class, and then 90,000 1 month into the program. And for those paying in dollars, US dollars, it's $400, 300 to get into the program, 100 1 month after the program starts. And for those in Canada, it's 500 Canadian dollars, 350 Canadian dollars to get into the program, and then 150 1 month after the program starts. Okay, like I mentioned, the discount ends tomorrow, the 31st of July. All right, so if you want this discount on Tuesday, the discount to be off. Okay, so the non-discounted fee is £400 or 320,000 Naira, right? But the discounted fee, like I said, the discount is only open from now till tomorrow, the Monday the 31st of July 2023. Okay, so for those who would want to get into the program, you've joined our different master classes. We've had master classes across all the programs we offer, from data analytics to data science to Power Platform to data engineering to business analysis. This is HR Analytics. So if you want to be a part of the program, ensure you register, join to be a part of the program, and then you get to start with us on the 5th of August, next week, Saturday, when the new cohort starts. And how do you make payments? Very simple. All you need to do is you click on this link, which my colleagues would share with you. And when we share the materials with you later this evening or tomorrow morning, depending on how fast the video gets converted, you would also, just give me a second, you'd also receive all these details I'm sharing with you at the moment, where you can click on this link and I'll show you how to make payment for those of you who would want to leverage the discount, take advantage of the discount. All you have to do is click on this link and it takes you into the Tenalytics enrollment page. And all you have to do, if you want to make payments in Naira using your debit card or credit card, just click on this link and it takes you into the pay stack option and just look for HR Analytics. Click on HR Analytics and then you select full or part payments, right? Choose full or part payments. Part payments, 180. If you want to make the full payment, 270,000. Add to bag, enter your details, go to checkout, and then you get to make the payments to join the program. And of course, if you want to make payments using your card and you're in somewhere in Europe, you're in somewhere in the UK, you can also make your payments in pounds by clicking either on the full payment or the part payment using PayPal, all right? And that's how you make payments. And of course, if you want to make payments using a direct transfer, so for some reason you can't make payments using your card, you can take advantage of using any of the account details to pay in pounds or to pay in Naira, right? So it's a Fidelity Bank account and you have the account details. My colleague would share that with you in the chat. And once you get the slides, you also have all the details on the slides as well, all right? Again, if you want to reach out to us, for the lady who asked for our numbers, all you have to do is either send us a message to any of these numbers you have on the screen and somebody would reach out to you, all right? So what I also advise you to do is follow us across all our channels: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. Follow us across because we have amazing sessions like this from time to time, and you can also get to benefit and enjoy from those sessions. All right, you can also take down our number and you can reach out to us anytime you want to and you get somebody respond to you. Okay, so if I were you, I'll just take a screenshot of the account details so I can easily do my transactions. And then once you make payments either using any of the platforms I shared with you, all you have to do is, still on that same link, you go to upload your receipts. Okay, upload your receipts. And once you click on upload your receipts, you then get to upload the proof of payment, and we confirm your payment and you receive a welcome kit. So you have everything available on the link that my colleagues have shared with you in the chat, and you'd also have them on the slide as well. All right. So I'm going to take questions before we call it a day. So if you have questions, please feel free, ask your questions, and then I would answer those questions. All right. So the discount ends tomorrow. We're not extending it any further for those who would want to be a part of the program. So Farida is asking, can I pay for the data analytics course now? I want to take advantage of the discount, please, and start in September. Absolutely. So again, Farida, this is what you do, all right? So once you've made payments, okay, and you want to upload the proof of payment. So once you come to the form, you enter your email, your first name, your last name. Okay, so I might not be able to show you here because I'll have to enter all these details. But what you need to do is when it comes to the area where you select when you want to start, because you see the question, when do you want to start? August, September, or October? You can select September or October, all right? Because the discount, I'll tell you for a fact, it's not going to remain the same in September as well as October, okay? The program fee will be changing, and we've been announcing this to our budding and potential clients and customers. Of course, you know how crazy the exchange rate has been, especially for those who are in Nigeria. So the fees will be changing for the month of September going forward. So this is the best time for you to jump on the opportunity, take advantage of the discount, and then you can defer your program at least 2 months into the future, all right? So Lois is asking if the discount will still go on. Discounts would end tomorrow, the 31st of July. So Lois, if you want to take advantage of the discount and start in September or October, you can do that. But you take advantage of the discount before the discount ends. Like I said, the program fee itself will be changing from September due to the exchange rate issues across. If I don't want HR analytics, so Courage, that's not a problem at all right? You can register for any program and change the program before you start, okay? So let's take, for example, Courage, you want data analytics, okay? But you have registered for HR analytics, just send us a message. That's all you need to do, okay? Send us a message and then so let me try to fill this form so you'd see what it looks like. So I'll enter my email. So once you've registered, you've made your payments, you've taken a screenshot of the proof of payments, all you need to do is fill this form, just like I'm filling. Select your gender, initial payment or full payment, click on next, right? You read the terms and conditions, and then you read the terms and conditions, you have them here. Once you've read it, you click on next, okay? And then this is where you upload. So Courage, this is back to the question you asked, all right? What program did you register for? You can select it here, any of the programs, okay? Select any of the programs, data analytics, if that's what you want, or data engineering, if that's what you want. HR analytics, obviously, and then you click on next until you submit. But if you still want to change, even though you selected something, you can change on the 4th of August. The program starts on the 5th. So you can change any day before the program starts. But once the program has started, you can't change your program at that point in time. So if you want the data analytics, HR analytics, financial analytics, depending on what you want, you can do that before the program starts, okay? I hope I answered that question, Courage. Yes, the cost is the same for all the programs except the data engineering, okay? So the program fee is the same for all the programs you have here. We offer 7 programs: data analytics, business analysis, full stack data science, data engineering, financial analytics, HR analytics, Power Platform engineering. And you can also select, I need to speak with a professional. The reason why we have this here is because some people would want to ask questions. Oh, I've made payments, I've but I don't know the program to select. I want to get into tech, but I want to talk to Adeza. I want to talk to Efemena. I want to talk to one of the data associates within Analytics to help me make a decision. All right. So you can also select, I need to speak with a professional, and would schedule a session for you where somebody would jump on the call with you and help you make a decision based on the program you'd like to join. Data engineering is the only program different in terms of fees, is more expensive, right? For all the other programs, you have the same program fee. So if you want data analytics, not HR analytics, you can select data analytics and the fee still applies for the program. All right. So I think I'm already answering the questions you are asking in the chat. So please, what's the difference between HR analytics and data analytics? They're pretty much similar, right? The difference is this, and I'm going to give you very simple. As a data analyst, you are working. So this is data, and this is HR. All right. As a data analyst, you are working with broad data sets. So you are doing the same job. The job of a data analyst is to take data, analyze the data, generate insights, and help businesses take decisions. All right. The job of a HR analyst is to take data, analyze data, generate insights to help drive people and HR related strategies and processes in the company. All right. The difference is, for a data analyst, you're going to work with broader sets of data as a data analyst. But as a HR analyst, you are working with people data. All right. People related data. So as a data analyst, I could work on medical related data sets where I'm helping a client answer questions around alcohol related deaths. Okay, so what's the age group that is more susceptible to different alcohol related issues, and so on and so forth. But a HR analyst would not do that. A HR analyst is focused on people related data. So the type of projects you would work on during the program would involve projects like absenteeism, similar to what we've seen, attrition, all right, recruitment, succession planning, and things that are related to HR problems. But as a data analyst, you'd focus on different types of data, from sales to commercial to performance to health, and so many other types and different types of data sets. So you have broader sets of skills in terms of the different areas you are looking at. But a HR analytics professional is more focused and has a is more specialized and focused on people-related data and people-related insights, if that makes sense to you, for the person that asked the question. But the interesting thing I would just like to mention very quickly is there is a convergence between the two. All right, there's a convergence between the two. Now, what's that convergence? As a data analyst and as a HR analyst, the only difference between the skills you would learn is the data analyst would learn how to use Tableau. All right, while the HR analyst would not learn Tableau. Okay, now when applying to jobs, and this is something we always discuss during interviews, and I think I mentioned it here already, you do not focus on the role or the training you just applied to. I can be a HR analyst, and I'm going to share a story with you. It's on the slide as well. I'll share a story with you of a lady who got a job as a HR data analyst. Okay, so looking at the job requirements, the job says you need Excel, you need Power BI, and SQL. A data analyst would know all these skills. A HR analyst would also know all these skills. So what stops the HR analyst from applying to that job? And what stops the data analyst from applying to the same job as well. All right. So what you focus on is not on the job title, but rather on the job requirements. So if as a HR analyst, you meet the requirements of that job, and like I said, you'd see so many jobs that requires the simplest skills you would never even imagine, that this job requires just the use of Excel, or requires just the use of SQL. So a HR analyst can apply to data analytics role as long as you meet those requirements. Similarly, a data analyst can also apply to HR analytics role. However, where the challenge would be is the HR analyst would have more depth in terms of the understanding of the HR principles and practices and metrics. The data analyst would not. Okay, so a HR analyst would know what talent management entails, would know what succession planning entails, would know what attrition does to the business, would know what stay interviews, exit interviews, would know what they mean, would know what an employee impact engagement survey, what it means. The data analyst would not know. And that's where, you know, HR is more specialized in terms of the people related issues and problems within the company. All right. I hope I answered that question. Does data analytics include Python? No, it doesn't. Now, like I always tell people, Python is fancy. It's a fancy thing to know. But when it comes to a lot of jobs you'd find out there, you'd see that as a data analyst, you don't need Python. So what you need as a data analyst to get a job anywhere across the globe, you need problem solving, you need Excel, you need Power BI, you need SQL, you need Tableau, you need ChatGPT for analytics, and also Microsoft Fabric for data analytics. And once you have these 7 skills, you are good to go. All right. So where you need Python is when you are going for the data science program, right? So I'm just going to show you the platform and what the platform looks like. So this is Victor. Victor, you heard Victor when Victor talked about his experience. You watched the video and you saw what Victor said. Victor works with Hugo in Chicago, Illinois, in the US as a people operations analyst. All right. He works remotely. He lives in Nigeria. All right. He works remotely from Nigeria, works for the company in the US after joining our HR analytics program. All right. You also have Maureen. Maureen is in Canada. She works with TELUS. TELUS is a telecommunications company in Canada. She got a job as a HR data analyst, of course, after joining our HR analytics program as well. Okay, you also have Thelma. Thelma works as a HR analyst in Birmingham, here in the UK, after joining our program. All right, so there are so many success stories. I'm not going to bore you with all the success stories. So what I'm going to do is I'll share and show you very quickly the platform. When you register, when you join the program, what does the platform look like? I'll show you very quickly and then we'll call it a day, because I think we've spent a lot of time on the call already. So let's look at the classroom and see what it looks like. So when you join the program, so let's look at the HR analytics. This is the July cohort for those in July. That started on the 1st of July, all right? So every month we have a new cohort. Started in January, we had a cohort in January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So this is a July cohort that started on the 1st of July, all right? So the moment we confirm your payments, you receive your welcome kits, you join this platform. And this is where remote learning becomes amazing. All right. Now you have your onboarding session where you are onboarded onto the system. You understand what is where, how to navigate your way around. You also join a group, a WhatsApp group, where you get to interact with your trainers and your facilitators. You can ask questions and you get Chinyere, who is on the call with you, answering your questions. She's the data associate for the HR analytics program. So she's there solely to solve your problems, all right? Now, this is the problem solving class, the very first class. And let's assume you missed this class on a Saturday. You were busy, you had an event, you had to go somewhere, or you really had to get to work on a Saturday because you had something to do. Every single class, live class is recorded. So all you need to do is come to the platform, right? Here you have the login details. You can see Saturday, July 1st, 11 a.m., right? 2:30, you can see the time. You click on the link, you join the class. But if you miss the class, all you have to do, come to the platform and you'd see the slides first of all. So the material that was used in class. So this is the slide. You get to look at the slide. Nene took this class. Nene, like I mentioned, is a commercial analyst, a strategic professional, strategic planning professional. She works with Zelos. Zelos is an authorized licensee of Nike in the UK. She's worked with KPMG in Nigeria. She's worked with Bank of America here in the UK. She's worked with Denon Group here in the UK as well. She took the class. And like I mentioned, for those asking, can a beginner be a part of the program? The very first thing you start to learn is what is data. So you're not diving into creating anything. No, you start from the nitty-gritty. You start right from the beginning. So what is data? You get engaged, you answer questions, all right? Types of data, quantitative, qualitative. What is data analytics? The type of data analytics, the different 4 types of data analytics: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive. You talk about all of that, and then you start to move into problem solving itself. The CRISP-DM framework, all right, which is the standard process for data mining across industries. You'd understand the CRISP-DM process, and this is where you start from. Now, assume you missed the class and you want to catch up. All you need to do is come to the recording, the class recording, click on the class recording, and it takes you to the recording of the class, all right? So click on play and you get to watch the recording. Sometimes we're just going to wait for it to come up. But once it comes up, you get to watch the recording. And if you have questions, you do what? Ask questions in the chat and you have people that will respond. So you don't miss anything at the end of the day, right? Because you've gone to the platform, all the materials used in class, you'd find them on that platform. Okay, we're going to come back to this. So once you are done with the problem solving class, you start your Excel week 1, your watch me do it videos, and then you have your live class for Excel. Again, you have your login details, you have the materials that was used in class, just in case you missed out, and you also have your class recording. In case you missed the class, you get to watch the recording, and then you have your first mentorship session. Remember, the class started when the problem solving was on the 1st of July. Your first mentorship session is the same week, on the 7th of July. If you missed the mentorship session, the recording is also there. So everything is available. You don't miss out on anything eventually. Now we have something called the drop-in session, and I'll explain what the drop-in session means. You joined the class on Saturday, all right? And something was taught. So let's assume you were taught how to perform linear regression, okay? And you really didn't get it in class, or you were practicing afterwards. Maybe you missed the class, you were not in the live class, and you're watching the recording. You've tried all the things you've seen in the recording, but you still cannot get it. What happens? You join the drop-in session, okay? The drop-in session happens during the week, in the evenings. So it's similar to your prep time, or the time you take out during high school to read during the evening, to practice and so on with your contemporaries. So you'd have a data coach in that drop-in session to walk you through the problems you face or you faced in class, or if you have questions that would require that one-to-one interaction. So you have a multi-layered, problem-solving framework applied and approached to everybody in the program, all right? So you have the second mentorship session on the 14th of July. And of course, you have your Excel, all the Excel classes. You have another drop-in session. And this is where all the program, you'd find them. So they are currently on their second Power BI class, the week 2 of Power BI, okay? And for the program they had this weekend, you can see this was posted on the 28th of July. This is the case study they worked on. The program is what? Case study based. And the case study is on job application tracking for VTech. So VTech is a company you'll be working for, and you'd help them come up with solutions to track all the applications you are getting. So as a HR professional, you get applications from different channels, from different people. How do you analyze to see how to optimize the process of people applying to jobs? The people that perform the best, where do they come from? Do they come from LinkedIn? Do they come from your company's website? You start to carry out those type of analytics to help you come up with solutions, all right? So this is what it looks like, okay? So this is the classwork you do in class, and then you create your report eventually. So this is the case study, what they did on Saturday, this Saturday that just passed on the 28th of July. And of course, the class recording of how the class was, you'll have that here just in case. So the class recording, of course, you have all your sessions, you get to watch them. So that is Nene taking the class.
And I'm explaining that, how happy are you? Now you see that Nigerian that says he's very happy, giving you a rate of a rank of 7/10.
All right, so it's interactive, where you are discussing, interacting with your trainers and your facilitators, and there's nothing, more fantastic than that. I'm going to take questions very quickly, and then we'll call it a day. So if we have any other question that I haven't answered in the chat, because I think I've answered a couple of questions. Can a beginner learn financial analytics? Ayodele is asking, anybody can learn financial analytics. All the programs we offer are designed for beginners, all right? They're designed with the beginner in mind. So if you're a beginner, you've never done it before, the program is for you. If you're also a professional, but you want to transition, so let's assume you are a data analyst or you've worked in strategy, but you want to transition into another space, the program is designed to ensure that everybody follows the same process. You start on the same pace and you're able to move along together eventually, all right? Lois, I think I shared the number earlier. So Chinyere, please, you can send the two numbers to Lois, okay? The Nigerian number and the UK number as well, depending on the one Lois would prefer to reach us on. So this is what the platform looks like, all right? And this is the July cohort, okay? And then, right, I'm going to take questions very quickly. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask your questions before we call it a day. I'd love us to end in the next 3 to 4 minutes. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask your questions. Like I mentioned, this is the last masterclass we are having for July, and the discount ends tomorrow, Monday, the 31st of July, for the program starting on the 5th of August. So if you want to take advantage, you've always thought that, look, I want to get into tech. It's time for you to make a decision to join, all right? Courage is asking, if I want to choose a course, where can I check the topics? All right, fantastic question, Courage. So you see the link I shared, the link my colleagues have shared with you all through the session, Courage. Just go to that link. Everything you need is there, all right? So everything you need is there. So let me go back very quickly and show you what I mean. So if you open up the link, which is this one, where you make payments, you have access, get access to all the program brochures. Okay, so click on that link and you'd see all the brochures of all the programs, and then you'd see the specific details of all the programs that we offer, all right? All the different topics that you get to learn, you'd see them as well, okay? But most of them, I think I've summarized already for you during my presentation, okay? But if you still want to see all the details, the nitty-gritty, the brochure itself, just click on that and you'd see. So these are the different things you'd learn, from problem solving to Excel to Power BI. So in the brochure, you'd have this a little bit, you have it broken down. So introduction to Excel, what are the things you'd learn? Under introduction, you'd learn things like the Excel environment, how to indicate the different the rows and columns, the status bar, the quick access toolbar, and all of those things, basic Excel functions. You'd learn all of that under introduction. data manipulation and data cleansing. You learn different functions, the clean, the trim, the substitutes, so many functions under that. Data modeling, you learn how to create relationships using the VLOOKUP, the XLOOKUP, the index and match, so many other functions like that. The data analyst toolbox. So you'd see the breakdown in the brochure if you'd love to do that, courage. All right. So just go to that link, the same link, click on that, and you'd get access to all the brochures of all the programs that we offer. I'm a Ghanaian, how do I pay? So Edward, if you're a Ghanaian and you want to pay, all you need to do is use the pay stack. All right, so our people from Ghana who joined the program, so many of them from Ghana, from Cameroon, from South Africa, you use the pay stack link to make payment, pay stack. Okay, so you come to the pay stack link, which is the pay stack for all programs, all right? And you'd see the full of first payments, click on that, and it brings you into the pay stack. Okay, you select the program you want to pay, and once you make payment, it would convert the fee into your own currency, and then you can make payment using your card. Okay, so you go to the HR Analytics, click on that, and then you select either the full payment or part payments, depending. Okay, and that's how you can pay to join the program. All right. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Edward. Okay, if we don't have more questions, I think we'll start to call it a day. Now, just before we wrap up today, one of the things I always bring to people and I always ensure that we do for us at Analytics is to drive the awareness that as Africans and people of the Black community, there are so many opportunities out there. Okay, so you're going to the UK, it's not all about going to do care jobs, support jobs, warehouse jobs. You're going to Canada, you're focusing on doing Deliveroo, Uber Eats, and so many other things, jobs that ordinarily you would not want to do if you had other opportunities. With all due respect to people that do those jobs, nothing wrong with them, okay? But what we want to entrench within the minds of people like me, people that look like me, people like Africans, the Black people, the Black community, is there are so many opportunities where you have a clear career progression. You get to work at the comfort of your home. You get to compete for the best jobs available out there. We get to go into organizations, and then we see people who hold major key positions, technical positions, and they're not just Indians and other nationalities, all right? They're Africans, somebody from Ghana, from Cameroon, from Nigeria, from South Africa, from Zimbabwe, and so on and so forth. And that's what we stand for, all right? So like I mentioned, follow us on all our profile. You can follow me as well, Adeza Suleiman on LinkedIn, and you would get to share so many fantastic materials available. We have sessions like this from time to time where you get to learn amazing stuff. Go on YouTube, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and you'd also get to learn amazing stuff. Interestingly, somebody mentioned that what they learn from our free classes supersedes all the programs they have paid money for to learn. Okay, so follow us across our platform and get to learn and enjoy the amazing value that we bring to you. So the cohort starts on the 5th of August. If you have a brother, you have a sister, a cousin, a friend, a colleague in the office that you think this would benefit, share the message with them, all right? Share the message with them, let them know, send the material, send the recording once you receive it, send the link to them, and let them get into the space. There's somebody, I don't know if he's on this slide, I'll quickly show you just before, and I'll use that to wrap up. I'm not sure he's here. Yes, he's here, okay? So I'll just share his story with you very quickly. His name is Uthman. Uthman joined our program sometime last year, 2022. He was fresh out of the university. His elder brother joined our free session like this, okay? His elder brother was not looking to transition, but what did he do? He sent the details to Uthman. Uthman joined the program, and today, after he completed his data analytics program with us, he had, because one thing we do, the very first module you cover, we tell you to start to apply to jobs. So we told Uthman to start to apply to jobs. He did. He started to get interview opportunities. I worked with him. I wrote his recommendation, his reference, everything. So I know the entire assessment process for Uthman's journey. It was 100% Excel. And today, Uthman works as a business intelligence officer with the NHS in the UK. All right. His brother, his elder brother, sent the details to him. He never knew who we were and what we do, but his brother joined a session like this. Okay. So if you know a friend, you know a colleague, you know a family member that you think this would benefit, share the message with them and let them get their journey started. Just like Uthman, his brother shared the message with him. He joined, completed the program, did his internship. While he was doing his internship, he got a job as a business intelligence officer in the UK and is doing absolutely fantastically well. All right. I think we'll draw the curtain at this point in time. All right. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, feel free to send us a message, send us a DM across any of our channels. We'll be very happy to answer your questions. Pamela wants to say something quickly and then we'll wrap it up. Pamela, please go ahead. You have a question.
Good evening, Adiza.
Good evening, Pamela. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you. So I've been conflicted as far what to do. It's been either data analytics or HR analytics. But after the class, I'm leaning towards HR analytics, mostly because of my work experience. And I see that it covers some part of data analytics. But my question is there any special arrangement in place to cover like an extra skill like Tableau now? You know, HR analytics doesn't cover Tableau. Let's say I pay for HR analytics. Is there any special arrangement, like maybe paying extra, something extra to get tutored for Tableau also?
Right. Absolutely. We can always make that arrangement with you. Okay. So again, if you've paid to join the program, depending on when Tableau would happen, right? If it falls within a period where you can take the program, we can make the arrangements and see how you can integrate into that to learn how to use Tableau. But if not, would find a time that clearly fits into that works with you, where you can also get to learn how to use Tableau. All right. But I always recommend and say that, look, you focus on one thing at a time, complete the HR analytics. If you ask me for my own personal opinion, what I'll tell you is if you focus on one area, learn the HR analytics and all the things you need to learn, trust me, before you start to learn Tableau, you'd start to get opportunities to work as a HR analytics professional eventually and even get a job. Okay, but to answer your question directly, yes, we can make the arrangement for you, Pamela.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Pamela. Right. What's the cost of the data analytics? Is exactly the same fee as HR analytics, exactly the same fee. Antonia is saying, consider the discount for September. So first of all, Antonia, the fee is going to change, like I mentioned. The cost of the program would change completely. So even if there is a discount, which there would not, the fee would go up. All right, because the fee itself, the cost fee would change for all the programs. All right. So Mary, I don't know if you saw the program fee, but I'm just going to go back to show you very quickly. All right. So that's the program fee, which is exactly the same fee for the data analytics program. Okay. Right. So I think we've answered all the questions. Like I said, just follow us across all our platforms and we'll share very key insights across different areas with the aspects to transitioning into tech. Can I do a part payment option of the discounts? Absolutely, Amaka. Yes, you can. You can pay today and defer your program to September or October. all right, have issues with my LinkedIn. So the LinkedIn optimization is one of the sessions you join, Lois. All right. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, we'll show you how to create one. You would create one, you have been restricted. Okay. So Lois, if you've registered for the program, this is something we can look at for you. I'm not sure we can do that now because of time. We are wrapping up our session for today. All right. But if you've registered during your LinkedIn optimization session, is something that we can look at for you and see how to address the problem that you have. Of course, which is very important. You can't be a professional and not have a LinkedIn profile. Okay. And Amaka, I think like I was saying, yes, you can. All you have to do is make payments for the month of August, take advantage of the discount. And the discount ends on Monday, the 31st. Take advantage of the discount and then you defer the program to September or October. So you can defer 2 months into the future if you want to. All right. Okay. Okay. Paul is saying, also sorry about that. So Paul, if you need an arrangement, okay, you need an arrangement with us, just send us a message. All right. Send us a message. Somebody will respond to you. All right. Send us a message to any of these numbers, Paul. All right. So if you need an arrangement with us, just send us a message and then somebody would respond to you and work with you to see what is obtainable and if you fall into the criteria of what we can do to make more options available to you. All right. But just send us a message and then we'll get to work with you, Paul. Thank you very much, guys, for joining today's session. For us, what we always try to do is create the avenue to share as much information as required to help as many people get into tech. So whenever you decide, for those who will not be joining now or joining in September or October, you definitely get to know that, look, when I eventually decide to join, Tenalytics is available for me to take advantage of and join to get my journey into tech started. So thank you very much for joining us today. Have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. So thank you very much, guys. And until we meet in another session, maybe sometime in August, have a wonderful time and cheers, everybody.